What the fuck? Look, he's trying to slap me. Hey there. Alright, welcome back. It's been 2 years since our last video. I hope our 48 subscribers are happy to see us back.
It's only 44, bro. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Well, we're back now. I'm excited to get this video going, to get our AC recap of 2024 going.
Yes, sir.
Instead of doing one video this time, we're going to try to do all of them. That's the plan. But, alright, I'm Ace.
And I'm Corey.
And today we'll be talking about our top 5 intros of the year.
Alright, Ace, so first things first, do you have any honorable mentions?
I do not.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat. I feel like these were pretty easy lists to make personally.
Yeah.
And I knew what my 5 were right away, especially for these, so no honorable mentions.
Yeah. I think my thing was I knew my 5. It was just really hard to order them.
Exactly.
So that's going to be a big issue for today. All right. So if you want to go ahead and start for your number 5 for intros of the year, go ahead.
So I've got J. Cole's Pricey off of his My Delete Later album from this year.
Nice. That's a good pick. I got Tyler the Creator, Saint Chroma. I know it's
Okay.
pretty low, but
Yeah.
if you want to go ahead and explain Pricey, and I'll talk about Saint Chroma. Let's do that.
Yeah, man, so intro track obviously off of his My Delete Later album from this year, and I feel like J. Cole keeps continuously proving that he's one of the best rappers in the game.
Yeah.
In this track, it's really no exception. I mean, the production's pretty simple, but very, very enjoyable on the ears. But it helps Cole shine. I feel like a very simple production really allows you to focus on his rapping and what he's talking about on the song. And Ari Lennox is another standout. I mean, she had a great performance on the chorus, and I think this was easily one of my favorite songs off the album, and it did a good job opening up the album. So I had to put this in here. From the moment I heard it, I probably figured it was going to be in my top 5, and it slotted perfectly in a number 5 for the year. So
Yeah, now that you mention it, man, that's probably one of my favorites on My Delete Later. Maybe something I missed out on. I don't think it's the best track on the album, but I think it's up there.
definitely top 3, top
Yeah.
4 for sure. So
Yeah, definitely it's a fun to listen to song. Great intro for what the project is.
yeah, man. So Saint Chroma,
Yeah.
5th. I may or may not have that on my list. We'll see, but
Oh, come on.
I'll let you go ahead and get us started on why you put it at number 5.
I have a feeling you do. I was bouncing between a lot of placements for this song. I knew it was going to be my top 5 for sure when I first heard it, when I first heard that snippet. But yeah, I mean, it's a great opening to a great album. I mean, it opens the concept of the project pretty dang well. You have like these militaristic like chants and then these marching sounds in that intro, and then you have Tyler's mom at the start talking about light, and same with Daniel on the chorus. Daniel
Yeah.
Caesar, one of my favorite features of the year on that
Amazing.
chorus. And
Amazing feature.
outstanding. I love the whisper rapping from Tyler in that first verse. The song builds up to like a sonical explosion after the first chorus. It sounds outstanding. It's a
Yeah.
great breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Throws you right into the soundscape of the album. Really, it's pretty hectic, pretty chaotic. I love the lyrics too. I like the line on the second verse where he's talking about, should I put the light out or do I gracefully bow out? Like he's kind of talking about his conflict with his artistry and
Yeah.
wondering if like he should focus on himself or he should keep it going. And that's pretty much what this album's about. It's about himself and what he wants, and that's pretty much what this album's like about. I mean, it's about a lot of personal topics for Tyler and a lot of personal reflection. Yeah, and that line in itself opens up pretty well for the concept of the album. I like the line on the first verse where he's talking about traditions. You gotta stop impressing the dead.
Yeah.
He's talking about how this album's different from like the sound of it, the topics rapped about on song to song, and like the traditions that were broke within this album. Like on every Tyler album, I think it's every Tyler album, including Bastard and Mixtape. On the 10th track, it's always been like a 2-part song.
Yeah. Up until this one.
Up until this album, that tradition was broken. I think he just reinforced that with this line itself.
Yeah.
Overall, it's just a great opener, and it's one of the most like bombastic moments of the year for me.
I agree.
I think the reason why I have it at 5, I mean, it has high replay value compared to like other songs in the project. Though I don't want to try to do comparisons or anything, but I'm gonna have to. Definitely not my favorite.
Yeah.
But it's still a crazy moment to the year, and I think everybody on the song delivered pretty dang well.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna gripe about you having it at 5. I'm just glad it's on your list because I think it's well deserving of being in the top 5 list. So.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, number 4. What do you have?
I have Kendrick Lamar, Whacked Out Murals.
That's exactly where I had it. Kendrick Lamar's Whacked Out Murals at number 4.
So we can go back and forth with this. If you want to go ahead and start, you can go ahead.
Yeah, man. So obviously this year for Kendrick, dominated with the rap beef with Drake.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't really know if we were going to get an album from Kendrick this year. Was he just going to wait till 2025 and let all this beef stuff and all the singles hold him over for another year? Then we get this surprise drop out of nowhere, which no one's going to complain about it, right? So
Yeah.
on this song, I mean, 5 minutes of dominance to start the album for Kendrick. And this track just does a perfect job of setting the tone for the whole album. And I think the intro has to do that. And all five of the intros I have today do a perfect job of that. And this song's no exception. I mean, he really showcases how talented he is, how many different flows he can do. A lot of new flows, I feel like. I don't know if you would say the same, but just these, like, I don't even know how to describe them. Like, these raunchy, like the
inflections in his voice, yeah.
Yeah, it's just super interesting. He catches these pockets. And, I mean, the song, you really don't think it's going to end ever. Like, you think it's going to end here, then it keeps going for another verse, and then you think it's going to end there, it keeps going. I mean, 5 minutes, again, of just dominance. And, I mean, it really just set the tone for what Kendrick was going to give us with this album, which is just being the man, proving he's the man. He deserves it all, like, just all sorts of stuff. So, perfect intro for this album. Had to be on the list easily.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I agree with is the hunger in his voice throughout this whole song.
Yes.
He's spitting these lines about, like, you know, talking about how his mural was defaced in Compton, and how, like, Snoop reacted to Drake's, like, tailor-made freestyle, and how Wayne reacted to, like, him getting the Super Bowl, but not Wayne in his own hometown. Like, you know, it's like all these recent events. It's kind of all built up into, like, this anger in his voice, and that shows it perfectly. I think the song jumps from, like, a lot of topics, but it goes, like, all the way full circle. Starts with him talking about how his mural was vandalized, and then at the end he's talking about, like, you know, my mural may have been vandalized, but, like, I'm still a legend. Like, that's not going to change. Like, I'm still going to keep going. That's not going to stop me. At the start of the song, he's talking about how, like, you know, if something like that happened to other artists, or, like, yourself, you would get the fuck out of here to Europe. Yeah, like, you go to a whole different country.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I love, like, the deep orchestral string build-ups. Like, it was, the jabs, especially at the start, all the way up to that beat drop. It's such a nice touch. Production's on point with this song. Really puts you into the soundscape this album, like, attempts to put you in. The West Coast G-Funk vibes that I think Kendrick nailed pretty dang well with his album.
I agree 100%.
It's a great start to it. I thought this would be something interesting to kind of, like, mention, because I've been junking this song recently. Zach Fox's Fuck Around and Find Out, FAFO. In the first line of that song, he's talking about, you know, like, Anita Baker booming in that 87 Buick. And in this song, Kendrick, at the start of the second verse, he's, like, talking about riding in my GNX with Anita Baker in the tape deck. It's gonna be a sweet love. I feel like that's a reference to Zach Fox. That's gotta be something.
Maybe.
I'm trying to put, like, the pieces together. I don't know if it is.
Knowing Kendrick, it probably is, man.
Yeah.
He's just super creative with everything he does, and everything's got purpose behind it. So I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. No, that's why it's my number 4.
Easily.
I feel like it could easily be top 3, top 2.
Yeah. Again, like you said, I struggled not to pick the 5, but where to put them.
Exactly.
And I feel like my 2 through 5 is super interchangeable. I think my number 1's pretty solidified personally, and I'll get into it. But yeah, putting it at number 4 just felt like a perfect spot for it. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so on the top 3 now, I've got Alice by Jev. Okay, and
Nice.
this is probably a song not many people have heard. Probably more of a personal favorite intro for me, but I had to include it. I think I'll let you say your third before I get into it. But
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's a pick I was considering. But the 5 I have here, it's very hard to kind of fit it in. I have Lupe Fiasco's Samurai.
yeah,
So yeah, if you want to go ahead and talk about Alice, I'll dive into Samurai a little bit.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's again the most underrated song and intro of the year. Like I said, I mean Jev's only got 1 million or so monthly listeners on Spotify. I think he's slowly starting to hit not the mainstream, but he's starting to hit the ear of a lot of hip hop people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an artist I've been on for a few years now, and he's slowly emerged as one of my favorite underground rappers in all of hip hop. So he continues to be that, and one of the most up and coming artists in the genre. So
Yeah.
Just an excellent display of rapping and production, just all sorts of combinations that he throws at you with this song. So it's definitely a song I would recommend to all you guys. The album itself too is really, really solid. When Angels Cry by Jev, so definitely would recommend that. And this kicks off the album pretty perfectly, like all these songs do. So Jev, Alice at number 3.
Nice. Yeah. So both of these songs that we have at our number 3, they have like cool boom bap, like, you know, soul chop beats. Some would say soul chop for Samurai, but yeah, they have like these cool boom bap beats, jazz inspired, very nice songs. For my pick though, I really do think this is one of Lupe's best writing songs in a while, and I know he's had songs like Mural, he's had songs like Ms. Mural, and even Mural Jr., I'm pretty certain is the name of it.
All three of them, yeah.
All three of them are outstanding. What this song does for me is it takes such a concept so, like, comedic and goofy when you're talking about it, like, within, you know,
Yes.
you're just kind of talking about it. It's talking about Whitney Houston and her, like, her random voice message that she had at one point where she's talking about, like, you know, I got these really neat, like, beautifully alliterated battle raps for you.
Yeah.
And he kind of flips this for this song about someone who's, like, up and coming, like an upcoming female battle rapper who's trying to make it into the game, and he's kind of, like, taking the perspective of her throughout his verses. And I think that's one big thing I really like when artists do. They put themselves in someone else's shoes, like their perspectives, and they're able to talk about all these other topics relating to that main thesis. So, yeah, Lupe Fiasco, Samurai, I really love his flows at the start of each verse. Talking about, you know, he's saying big eyes, looking like skies and binoculars, 2 nights live, singing by the opera house but not in it, just by it. Just the way he kind of flows through
His
that.
flows.
It's outstanding. Even on the chorus, where he kind of flips this small message by Whitney Houston into, like, this nice, beautifully melodically sang chorus. Like, it's just mind-blowing. Especially if you look into, like, the concept behind the song and what inspired him to make this album in general. This was the first song he wrote for the album. Makes sense. It sets up the concept perfectly. It's a really nice sounding song. You get this kind of these Fugees vibes with the instrumental. Really throws you into the world of the album that's trying to make.
Yeah, I love it. And if I had to probably pick an honorable mention, that would be Right on the Outside, Looking In.
Yeah.
Probably a top 2 song off of his album from this year, Samurai,
Easily.
for me. So, yeah, I love that pick.
Nice.
Can't be mad at it at all. Yeah, so top 2, I've got We Don't Trust You, the title track off of Future and Metro Boomin's We Don't Trust You.
Nice. And that was another one I was considering. It's not
Didn't
on my
make
list
your list.
because I have
Wow.
Logic, Paul Rodriguez at number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I can't be mad at it.
I want to hear you talk about We Don't Trust You, though, because I know you love this song. I love this song, too. But what do you got?
Yeah, man, so I feel like this song is better than the Jeff song I just mentioned. It's obviously more mainstream, and I think it comes on a better album than Jev's album, the We Don't Trust You album itself.
Yeah.
Has to be one of my favorite sonical pieces put out all year.
Yes.
And you get multiple of those, obviously, with Metro Boomin on this album. But this one, again, I keep saying it does just a perfect job of setting the tone of the album. I mean, I love the first 30 seconds or so.
Yes, that
And
build up.
that beat transition, the build up, all of it. Future does his thing. I mean, you go to Future for flows and for how he glides on beats, not necessarily for lyrics.
Yeah.
I think this is one of his best performances of the year, easily.
Mhm.
And then again, Metro Boomin, I just don't think they miss, and this is no exception, man. So this is probably one of my most played tracks of the year. We Don't Trust You, the album itself, is easily top 3 most listened to albums for the year, so naturally I'm listening to this song all the time, so had to put it in my top 3. Could have again went anywhere from 2 to 4 with it, but I think 2 was where I ended up with, and I'm happy I did. So
Nice, yeah. And that could be another one I glossed over. I mean, I know I love that track, and it was in consideration, but
now
man.
I'm in shambles. I don't even know what your number 1 could be. I thought that was for sure
Yeah.
in there for you. So
We'll
go
get to it soon. I want to talk about Paul Rodriguez a little bit because this song was probably one of my most grown songs. Like the song grew on me the most
Yeah.
throughout this whole year. When I first listened to the album, I was like, okay, he's going on for 7 minutes. Who gave Logic the green light to do this? And I was just kind of like, it's Logic. I gotta listen. There's probably gonna be some corny bars in there. I recently just dissected this song a little bit, and dude, he's just absolutely tearing apart this beautifully soul chop beat. Another great boom bap jazz cut. It's insane. So strong opening to a Logic project that I think contends with this first 2, which are his best. I think it's up there. Really throws you into the mindset of Logic when making this album, especially being such a highly anticipated album. I know this album's been teased since The Incredible True Story.
Yeah.
And now that we finally hear it, or we finally have it, and we're hearing this intro, and hearing Logic glide over this beat for 7 minutes with these spacious chops thrown into the instrumental, absolutely outstanding. I mean, you get some personal lines. You get lines where Logic just shows love to the game. I mean, he's one of the biggest fans of the game.
Absolutely.
He says it pretty constantly. I mean, he's he said it in multiple songs before. You get like braggadocious lines too, and you have like Logic kind of predicting the future. He's talking about Fantano rocking a yellow flannel, and for this album, for his review, he gave him a yellow flannel.
Yeah.
Like, he's just kind of talking his shit on this song, and it's outstanding to hear. It definitely grew on me the most this year. It's a perfect example of what an intro should be to an album, I think. Really sucks you in as the listener.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it builds up hype. It leads that listener into like the project itself. It keeps them intrigued throughout the whole track's runtime. I mean, it did for me.
I loved it too, and honestly, again, if I had to do honorable mentions, definitely would have been in contention for sure. So I love the pick.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I wanted to hear more Logic after this song. Like,
Yeah.
I was invested. I wanted to be like, okay, if he's snapping on this intro that's like 7 minutes long, what else does he have on the album that, these like shorter songs that, my attention span's like the span of a fucking dead goldfish. So like, of course, I'm very interested to hear like, what is he gonna do on these 2-minute songs, these 3-minute songs? So it really had me hooked, especially when I first listened to this album. Definitely a personal favorite of mine, but I think it's also one of the best performances of the year.
I agree, man. If you look back into Logic's catalog, some of his best songs are 6+ minutes. I mean, the Under Pressure comes to mind.
City of Stars, personally.
So many songs come to mind. So
Yeah.
definitely something he excels at is having longer run times. Even with his albums, like an album like College Park, Final Days, those are over an hour long, but they're pretty well concise, put together. So yeah, I love that pick. I mean, such a stacked year. It was hard to cut it down and leave songs like that out, but in a year that's so stacked, it's gonna happen. So
Exactly, yep.
all right, number 1.
All right, what you got?
I've got Saint Chroma, Tyler the
Saint
Creator
Chroma,
featuring Daniel
okay.
Caesar.
Yeah, that checks out. I have Vince Staples, Black and Blue.
I'll get into Saint Chroma. I think you did a really good job explaining it earlier. For me, I mean, the rollout for it was perfect, right? Tyler the Creator is a artist who I'm newly accustomed to listening to and getting a feel for. So
Yeah.
when he announced the album, you had told me don't be surprised if this comes out in a week or two. I'm like, nah, this is probably gonna be 2025. But you were spot on with it. Perfect rollout track right here. I mean, you get the music video, super graphic, descriptive. I felt like a little movie trailer.
Yeah.
And it really was. So I mean, perfectly put together. I mean, the album cover, the face, it all comes back to this song. I mean, it pretty much started the whole rollout, and Chromacopia is a very exceptional album. An album we'll talk about plenty as we get these videos posted. But elite production, I mean, beautiful feature from Daniel Caesar, as you talked about, man. One of his best to date, in my opinion. He's got a lot of really good cuts. He's one of the best male vocalists there is. So Tyler did a perfect job using him on this song and using him on the album as well. His performance, Tyler's, that being, is almost flawless to me. I mean, you kind of are more of the lyrical guy and you broke that down, but for me, like, his cadences and his flows are something that I'm getting used to listening to, and this song is going to be one of those Tyler songs that really jump-started my fandom for him. So, and again, I said it 4 or 5 times, sets the tone for the album perfectly, and I think this is probably one of the better albums with conceptual value. And this song's no different, man. So I think this was an easy number 1 pick for me. Yeah,
Nice.
flawless song.
Yeah, Saint Chroma, absolutely great intro. I agree with everything you said. I like how you talked about the rollout and how it kind of plays into, like, that being the intro track and throwing it into the soundscape. That's great.
All right, man. Black and Blue.
Black and Blue. Yeah, so as we talked about before Corey talked about Saint Chroma, yeah, I count this as an intro track. I think it's probably one of the best tracks of the year. I mean, one of Vince's best tracks in a while. He's been pretty consistent in this decade so far, especially the self-titled Ramona Park Broke My Heart, and now this. I feel like it's some sort of trilogy in a way. I think this is a great intro to the last part of that trilogy. Maybe he might have more. We never know.
Yeah.
I think this song represents everything he's talked about in the past 3 albums. Black and Blue, you can interpret that in many different ways. You can interpret it as Vince just being depressed. I mean, he's getting older now. He's reflecting on his previous times, like, being in the streets and being, it's a very personal song. I mean, you could also interpret Black and Blue as, like, black being the color of his skin, and then blue being, like, his people. Like, that's what he represented. And this culture that he's, like, a part of, there's all this luxury, there's all these vehicles and all this, like, these material things. And yet he still has this void inside of him. That's what this Black and Blue could be. Like, there's so many ways to interpret that chorus itself, and the topics on the verses all kind of ties into this. He's talking about, like, He's talking about choppers and luxury vehicles, living like Saudi Arabians, and then talking about Reaganomics, like all of this stuff that has had an impact on him. Yet he still feels this black and blue. Yeah, writing wise, this is really good. I mean, he's using all these like materialistic things and kind of talking about how it still causes him to stay in this void. And he's using all these metaphors and similes and whatnot just to describe this black and blue. That's just for the writing. I think the sound of this song is just hard hitting. As soon as the song plays, you get this hard percussion, this like synth in the background. I don't even know what to describe it as like, but it's just cold. Like it's hard to word it, and stays like that throughout the whole verse, pre-chorus, and that chorus comes in. The vocals so like spacey. Feels like there's like a whole choir singing this black and blue. Like it's very very deep song, very dark song, yet fits the theme of the album perfectly. Throws you right into Vince's dark times. And I think this song does everything that Paul Rodriguez did for me, but just better.
Yeah.
So that's why it's my number one. I think this is probably my most played intro of the year too, so that kind of I have a little bit of bias towards it, obviously, but this is just a very deep and personal song, and I'm glad Vince is kind of, airing out these grievances and just writing all this down, throwing it out there, and letting us hear it, because this is stuff that a lot of people probably deal with on the daily.
And again, like you said, I mean, everything Vince does, he doesn't drop bad albums. He's super good at writing concepts, and this song's no exception. Like you said, there's 4 or 5 different interpretations for the black and blue that you could look at, and I guarantee you Vince means every single one of them with it. So
exactly,
I love the pick. My criteria is just different from yours, so that's why it's not on there, but
yeah,
I love it. So intros, top 5, I've got number 1, Saint Chroma, Tyler the Creator. 2, We Don't Trust You, Future and Metro Boomin. 3, Alice by Jev. 4, Whacked Out Murals by Kendrick Lamar. And 5, Pricey by J. Cole.
Nice. And I got number 1, Vince Staples, Black and Blue. Number 2, Logic, Paul Rodriguez. Number 3, Lupe Fiasco, Samurai. Number 4, Kendrick Lamar, Whacked Out Murals. And number 5, Tyler the Creator, Saint Chroma. Awesome. All right, that is our top 5 intros. Now we can go right into our top 5 outros.
Yes, sir.